Hey everyone, happy Wednesday, and you guessed it, it's time for another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So, a couple cars here are done. This one and this one. So, had a couple little minor things I did to both of those today. I will come back to those. But yeah, they're probably both be gone by the end of the week. So, let me first start with the Barndoor. So, Rafa, again, not surprisingly, I know I say that every day, it's probably getting kind of old, but anyway, he continued working on this baby and did a bunch of mostly little things, little but still important, one of which is cargo door straps. Woo! So now the cargo doors don't open all the way. They're limited as they're supposed to be. The thing I love about these buses, though, is they're so practical. So if you do want to open them all the way, if you're, say loading something in here or whatever, for those of you that may not know this, there's just basically like a pin here that you pull out, and then you can open the doors all the way until they go against, fold back all the way here. So super clever design, and yeah, very cool. This side's got one too here. Let me see. Probably easier to see. Yeah, there you go. Actually, so this side has a pin on it. So yeah, you pull that pin out, and then this can swing all the way open, pretty much, flush with the car. Of course, it's got the little bumpers on it, so it doesn't just slam metal on metal. But yeah, anyway, so again, little things. Straps went in today, so cool little details here. Let's see, what else did Mr. Rafa do on this one here today? I've got my list. Another big one is, and again, I don't know where he has squirreled it away, but he rebuilt the fuel pump. So don't worry, you'll be seeing all that stuff soon when the motor comes together. But yeah, he did finish rebuilding the fuel pump on this. And let's see, what else did he do here? Again, little things, but things that need to be done. Got the front engine compartment seal in, so that's the one that goes over the bell housing there. And he did have the gas tank in, kind of test fitting it, making sure it all fit in there well. And then there's supposed to be actually some lettering on the gas tank that was originally stenciled on. And we're planning to have our very talented guy named Kent, who does all of our hand painting, stenciling, stuff like that. We sent him a picture from like an owner's manual of the stenciling that needs to go on the gas tank. So I think I forgot to mention the stenciling on the gas tank is basically showing for the reserve lever, like which way you point the reserve lever for like normal and off and reserve. So there's pretty much like abbreviations for each of those painted on this side of the gas tank that's going to be facing here. And then the lever is, of course, underneath of it. So you point the lever in the direction that corresponds to whatever you want it to do, like, say, go on reserve if you start running out of gas or whatever. So, yeah, we're looking to have Kent take care of that. If anyone needs any bitchin' hand pinstriping or other kind of painting like that done, let me know. I can get you a hold of him. He's also going to do, at some point, the pinstripe, which was supposed to run around kind of near the bottom of the belt line here. So we'll have him do that at some point. But for now, yeah, we want to get the stenciling done on the gas tank, which, by the way, is hanging over here. So yeah, the stenciling, this is upside down, of course, but the stenciling will go kind of like down here. And then the reserve, the fuel tap will be right there, obviously. So yeah, Rafa worked a little bit of a short day today. He had to leave a little bit early for something, and then on the way in he picked up parts from Wolfsburg West, so a little bit of a short day for him, but those are kind of the main things that he got done. So me, I was kind of all over the place today, and what I mean by that is I worked on 3 cars today, 4 cars actually, if you count running the errand for one of them. So let me just kind of go down the list. So first thing I did was to sort of finish this one up. Was, again, very minor thing, but I don't know who built the transmission for this car. It wasn't us, but 2 of the long bolts that hold the 2 halves of the transmission case together So underneath the transmission were just missing, and I've been meaning to put those on. Finally this morning I'm like, okay, this car is going to be leaving like any day now. So I found some bolts that were long enough and crawled under there and put those on. And then the only other thing I did was his wiring cover, which goes kind of over there. I installed that, and that was pretty much it. So yeah, this baby is ready to go. So again, I expect it to be gone probably, I'm thinking probably by the end of the week. We'll see. Waiting to kind of hear from him. So on this one, I mentioned earlier that Rafa had to pick up Wolfsburg West this morning. And what he picked up were the hubcaps for this guy. That was the last major piece of the puzzle here. So Wolfsburg West makes really, really nice hubcaps for these cars. And they're not cheap, but they are super thick. And the chrome is just really, really nice. And we love them. We put them on everything. And so the one thing that we do is we paint the logos on them, and we do that by hand. You can buy like vinyl stickers that you have to kind of line up and put in there in this recessed area, but we don't really like doing them that way. The original hubcaps, the logo was painted in there, so that's what we do, because we like to do things the original way, at least on stock cars. So yeah, pretty much hand painted all 4 of those, got that done, and obviously installed them on the car. And yeah, that was, I think, pretty much the last thing. Only other very minor detail on this was I got the little grommet where this breather runs through here, so it's not like rattling around in there. Those were literally the last 2 things that I did on this car. I may take it for like one more spin before he comes and gets it, but I'm not expecting any surprises at this point. I've driven this car a bunch of times. Runs great, drives great, stops great, turns great, all that stuff. So yeah, I think we should be good to go with this one. So I think he's excited to get it back, and I can't blame him. He's gonna have a lot of fun driving this thing around. So that was pretty much it for that one and that one. Just again, some very final small details finishing those cars up. This motor, which you can see I have it sort of rolled out here, I worked on this one a little bit today, and I went ahead and fired it up, and I wanted to tune the idle and stuff like that, check out some things before it goes in the car. And one thing that I noticed was that the choke element was not heating up when the car was running, despite having it connected electrically and powered appropriately. And these choke elements, they don't really go bad very often. Like, I was just not really buying it that this choke element was bad. And so I started checking, and there's not too many things to check. Obviously the power is the power, so it was getting power. But then what I did was I checked the ground between the carburetor body and the motor, like say one of these studs or something. And the carburetor was completely ungrounded. And so what I realized was, and so this is, I guess, a tip for any of you guys out there who may be building a motor like this. The intake manifold is all powder coated very, very nicely. And powder coating is essentially plastic, right? And so what was happening was that between, the gasket and stuff here, and then the fact that these studs are only touching a powder-coated flange on the intake manifold here, there was literally no ground being transmitted between this manifold and the carburetor. And so that's why the choke actually wasn't working. So what I did was I pulled the 2 nuts off the bottom, and I got in with like an X-Acto knife, and I kind of scraped a little bit of the powder coating away where the nut goes up underneath here. And then also I went and I added a split lock washer, which has, almost like a little tooth on it where the 2 ends are kind of offset like that. That can kind of help dig in a little bit too and create a ground. So did that on both of these studs here and reinstalled it, got out my ohm meter, and boom, really good ground. And then just to make sure, Then I hooked the choke element up to 12 volts and stood here and watched it for a while and kept touching it. And, it started heating up almost right away. And within probably 4 minutes or so, it had opened the choke all the way. So it's actually working great. Glad I didn't just, mindlessly buy a new choke element and kind of diagnose the problem instead of just assuming that element was bad. Because again, these things don't usually go bad. So if you ever run into that problem, check the ground on the carburetor and you might find out that's it. Especially if you have like a new motor like this where everything's kind of powder coated. Things may not be making great grounds. Grounds are important. Electricity has to flow all the way to ground or else it doesn't flow at all. So the last thing that I did today then was to work on restoring or going through a Bosch 019 distributor here for our favorite Barndoor bus. And I love the fact that this is painted. I don't know that this is an original Screamer distributor. It's kind of irrelevant, but it is a an 019, which is essentially what the Screamers were that came in a kit, and they were painted blue. So this is either a real Screamer or one that's painted to look like one. I don't actually know, but it looks like one, and it's the correct model, again, an 019. And so, yeah, I pretty much pulled this thing apart and started going piece by piece through it here. Again, completely disassembled it, took out the weights and the advanced mechanism, everything, and fired up the ultrasonic cleaner and used a couple different cleaning elements to degrease, or cleaning agents to degrease everything and then get any residual kind of rust or anything off it. So yeah, it came out pretty nice. I'm really happy. This thing was pretty gross looking on the inside. I think somebody kind of like cosmetically cleaned up the outside and got it looking good, but the inside was just kind of gross and like looking like it had never been restored or anything like that. So we can't have it like that. So I did have to order a couple parts from our friends at VWNOS. Website is literally VWNOS. Those guys have all the weird stuff for these distributors, including this little very thin and almost always broken fiber plate here that the weights kind of slide on. So you can see where this is broken. So I ordered one of these, and then the little fiber washers that these weights kind of rotate on. So underneath between the pin that goes through here and where this thing sits on the body over here, there's supposed to be a little fiber washer. One of those was cracked and the other one was just completely missing. So yeah, I'm getting those little parts from VWNOS. Actually, here's these guys. Yeah, bwnos.com. So yeah, these guys, in fact, here's some spare parts I have that I bought from them. They have all the shims and stuff so you can set your distributors up correctly. They have these fiber washers, which oftentimes if you take one of these distributors apart, these things just break into a million pieces because they're super fragile. So yeah, those guys have all that stuff. And vacuum pots, caps, rotors, pretty much everything you need to rebuild one of these. Anyway, that's my end of my plug for those guys. But yeah, super nice, and they have lots of weird stuff that you can't find anywhere else. So yeah, last part of the day pretty much started working on restoring this thing and making it at least as good as new, maybe even a little better, who knows. The condenser on here, I was pretty happy about it. It's got a little I'll say patina on it, but it looked much worse, and I spent some time with it with some steel wool, got it cleaned up. I love how original it is. And then went ahead and shot a coat of matte clear coat on it to preserve it so it doesn't just, rust anymore or anything. But yeah, love that. It's original. And it's cool because it says Germany. Anyway, so, and no one will probably see it once this is installed on the car, but you guys will all know it's there. Anyway, so that is pretty much it for today, guys. I feel like there was probably some other little odds and ends that I did, but those are kind of the major things. Again, just bouncing back and forth between these two, finishing them up, this motor here, parts for the Barndoor motor, That's pretty much it. So thank you guys, as always, for watching, and we will see you again soon. Bye.